inglorious about the game. My name is Brendan, and today with me is John. We are Coryless today. There are no rules. We're going to probably lose the plot very quickly.
I was already told I could not scream at the top of my lungs to start the cast, so there are some rules, actually.
That's the one rule. We want to make sure, John doesn't make you all want to turn off the podcast immediately.
You'll know what I'm talking about if you've been following us for a while. There's a backstory to that, but we digress already. Go ahead, Brendan.
See, we already lost the plot. It happens every time. So, to begin with, we got a couple tournaments that people wanted us to shout out. The first one is the St. Lawrence Open in Montreal, Canada, from October 19th to 20th. You can find out more at the stlaurentopen.com. And additionally, we want to talk about the 3-Foot Good Fall Brawl coming back on October 12th. It's 4 rounds of Legion and with no lunch break, but they are providing pizza, and that is in Davenport, Iowa. You can find more information about that on Longshanks. So, if you can get to either of those events, go for it. They look like a good time. And we are now post-GenCon. I gave everybody very short notice that on the last episode that I was going to GenCon. I have never been to GenCon before, so this was quite the experience for me. I was there as a member of staff, helping out with Legion stuff. So I got to do learn to play demos, as well as help to be a judge for the grand tournament. It was a long weekend. I am tired.
So what all did you do there? Give us a breakdown from start to finish. Because I know you went to GenCon, but I don't know if I specifically asked what were you going to be doing other than learn to plays. So that's the extent of what I know. GenCon, Brendan, learn to plays.
That was basically it. So on Thursday, the first day of GenCon, I did 3 learn to plays. The way the learn to plays were, these were ticketed events. And it was for up to 4 people. It could have been 4 people who knew each other, or it could have been 4 individuals. We had 2 skirmish tables set up, and we had the contents from the Clone Wars core box available to use for the learn to play. Basically, and it was a 3-hour session, so I essentially explained Legion and the core set of rules for the first 45 or so minutes, going over the dice and what the game is and how to read the cards and, the command hand and all of that. And then I would walk players through the first turn of, getting your units onto the table, because we were teaching the 2.6 or 260, whatever people are calling the recent update. I've heard Will Schick says he likes the idea of calling it 260, so maybe we'll go with that. But it was so then after essentially doing kind of a little half scripted turn 1, I then just let the players play and was there to answer their questions, helping them remember keywords and bringing up if any new keywords were came up during anything, and just let them play. It was a very simple little skirmish game. Again, it was just Obi-Wan with no upgrades. We had 1 clone trooper that had an extra guy, 1 clone trooper with a Z6, and we had a Bark with the main blaster sidecar versus Grievous with no upgrades, a B1 with the heavy weapon that had the 3 black, 1 B1 with an extra guy, and the droidicas. So we kept it pretty simple. I mean, we're trying to just teach people the game here. I don't want to go crazy with the upgrades. And
it was 3 hours?
Yeah.
It was a simple 3 hours committed.
Well, I mean, it takes 45 minutes to an hour just to get to the point where models get on the table, because you have so much to explain to them and answer all the questions. And then you script, the first turn, so things go a little bit slowly. I mean, I'm juggling 2 tables at once here. Luckily, I ended up getting a little bit of backup because it was 2, skirmish tables at the same time. So things could go drastically different on either table based on results. I luckily did eventually get some backup, so I would just explain everything to both tables, and then with some backup, we each were able to focus a little bit more on one table over the other to make sure keywords were being taught. I would say most of them ended in the 2 to 2.5 hour range. They didn't go the full 3 hours. But it was a lot of fun, and a lot of people seemed really interested. It was great. One of the sets was a father and son, and the son had to have been only, I want to say, somewhere between 11 and 13. And I thought the son was not all that into it, until maybe towards the end of it. But then the father and son just kept coming back throughout the rest of the weekend going, what else can we do for Legion at the con? And that was just kind of great to see because the kid really enjoyed it and wanted to do more. I was just upset there wasn't more we could offer to interested players beyond this ticketed event, and there was also the 30-minute learn to play demo at the main Asmodee booth that I never got to see because I wasn't part of that part. But
that's
there were
awesome.
A lot of other people that just seemed really interested in the game. We got all sorts coming through the table. There were some who said, well, I picked up the core set a while ago but never really learned the rules, to some who went, I've never done anything with miniatures games before. And they went, this is Star Wars, it looked cool. So
yeah, I was going to ask, because we're at such an interesting time for Legion with the introduction of 260, a learn to play could essentially appeal to someone who's literally never played, to even somebody who's had, at least some exposure to the, I guess you could call it the original rule set, and now you're transitioning into 260, so in a sense we're all learning to some degree. Did you have anybody that's played a little bit of Legion and they're kind of curious about 260, or is it pretty much, everybody more on the beginning end of the spectrum when it comes to their Legion exposure?
I had one person who said that they had played a skirmish introductory game like a year to a year and a half ago. And I went, well, perfect. This is going to feel real different.
Forget everything you knew. You must...
Not everything.
Unlearn what you have learned.
Exactly. That's the theme. But yeah, no, everybody seemed to have a good time. I wasn't a part of the Learn to Play demos for Friday and Saturday, but they were still going on. We had people running them then. Apparently, one of the people, there was a woman who took part in one of the Learn to Plays, and I don't know if she knew her opponent or not, but apparently every time something great happened, she got up and was doing TikTok dances and stuff. So I wish I'd been there for that, but that would have been very entertaining to see. So I don't know if people should start dancing every time they get some good die rolls at a table, but it's definitely something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, well, with the new cover system, there could be some times for dancing.
Yeah, I will say, running these Learn to Plays, because I haven't gotten to actually play a game of 260 yet, was really fun for me, because I could, in a very small microcosm, kind of see how the rules are. And the thing that I really liked the most seeing it happen was the cover, because of those die rolls. Even when, the clone squad with 5 guys, you're only throwing, 5 black dice at your shots. Those shots were still meaningful. It was great. Same thing with the B1s. Sometimes it's all you get are 2 hits on your white dice. But those shots still had a chance to go through cover and cause wounds. So it was really nice to see that basically any shot is now meaningful.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, the one rule I didn't go into in the games was backup. because I'm just trying to teach you as many of the rules as possible, and I don't need to add a whole nother level of essentially cover going on during the games. And I explained that there are objectives and everything to the players. I explained that we are in the new days of a big revamp of the rules, so that's why some of the cards looked different from some of the other cards, But yeah, everybody seemed to have a blast doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I mean, it's definitely, we always talk about Legion is so cool to see, like, just the grand scale of the armies, and the tables are awesome, so they definitely draw attention, especially at the big conventions. So I'd imagine people would be walking by and be like, what is that? And if you've never played a miniatures game, you see a bunch of Star Wars minis on the table, and you're like, I gotta check that out. So that's awesome.
I will say on Thursday there wasn't that much of that, because we hadn't set up the tables yet. There was a Armada and X-Wing event going on, and we only had limited space, so they were having their tournament on Thursday. So after having done three-hour learn-to-plays on Thursday, I then got to help set up tables. Luckily, we had a few other people who were able to start setting up the tables before my learn-to-plays were done. So, a lot had been done by the time I had to join in. But it was still a very long day, trying to make sure all the tables looked great. We had the right amount of scatter and just general cover, and it was a long day. But the tables were a lot of the same ones from Adepticon. It was actually the Adepticon team who brought the tables. So for anybody who had been at Adepticon or seen pictures from Adepticon that hasn't seen any pictures for GenCon, it was the same tables, just set up differently. They're quality painted tables. So.
Yeah, they were awesome tables at Adepticon. That's cool. They were putting you to work, my man.
Yeah,
you were hustling.
I was. So by Friday, I had no legs, and standing is a pain because it's a concrete floor. And so Thursday we have the first day of the grand tournament. It started with 64 people who had signed up, and I think we started with 48 people. So there was a big drop in attendance. I'm not sure what happened other than GenCon? I don't know. There's a lot to do at GenCon. So the tournament itself was the legacy rules, so I didn't have to worry too much about not knowing things and how things might interact now. So it was actually a pretty relaxing day. We had just people playing the game. Most of the calls I ended up getting were just line of sight calls, or just, hey, I've never encountered this unit before. Can you confirm for me that's how this unit, is supposed to work? Somebody had never actually played against Palpatine and didn't know how pulled the strings work, and just wanted that confirmed, right? So it was a pretty easy day. I was able to save my legs a little bit and do a little bit of sitting, just waiting for some judge calls. So it was a nice and simple day. And then we had some fun after the tournament that day, and a good chunk of us all went out and got pizza, as apparently part of the Stabcast GenCon tradition of getting pizza on the first day of the tournament. So that was fun, even though the pizza place was many blocks away and my legs hated me for it. It was pretty good pizza.
Nice. Was this the last tournament utilizing the legacy rules, or at least the last big tournament?
Yes, because AMG announced that any tournaments after August 5th should be using the new rules.
Yep, I remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. And I remember seeing that hard cutoff. So this was, in fact, the last. This was like the legacy tournament.
This was the send-off. Send-off.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's probably some mixed feelings there, and maybe that's why the big drop-off. You have probably a certain amount of people that were like, ooh, I'm going to the last legacy tournament, and then you have, on the other side of the coin, people that are like, man, like the new rules are out. I'm already mentally starting to transition to Legion 260. I think I'm out for this one for the Legacy tournament. I think I'm pretty much moving on.
Yeah, I thought about that too, so it definitely could have been it. Some people were going, well, if it's the old rules, I'm not interested, or it could have gone the other way too if people didn't read the notifications. They could have thought, oh, it's the new rules, I'm not interested. I don't know. All I know is who showed up. And, it was the classic, the Grand Tournament kit is what everybody was receiving, so over the course of their games, everybody's getting 2 of each of the promo dice that we first saw at Adepticon, as well as all 6 of the foil promo codes and the Play It Painted awards. There were multiple of those that got handed out, plus the top prizes for the top 4 and up. So exactly what AMG said there would be, but they also did have the prize wall. So people could still earn tickets and get more stuff from the prize wall.
The infamous prize wall.
I will say the prize wall was the exact same stuff that we saw at Adepticon, but there was slim pickings. Because they definitely allocated everything to other events, and this is just basically what's left over. So there were no Legion dice in the prize wall at the start of the event. And then the only reason any ended up in the prize wall is because we didn't give out all the Legion dice that we had put aside for the event. So they went real quick once they got put in the prize wall. But yeah, it was it was fun. It was a fun prize wall. There was still lots of stuff for the other games, dice available for all the other games, for anybody who plays multiple games. But then Saturday was the Grand Tournament again. There were more drops, so we had fewer people playing.
I think a pretty big drop, because I was kind of following it and didn't, because it went from 48 down to like 26, 24. I mean, it was substantial.
Again, it's GenCon. We also gave out the black and white dice on Friday. The only dice we hadn't given out that day were the red dice, and I'm sure people have enough red dice if they went to Adepticon already, and you don't really need more than, I think 7 is the most red dice you can use in any attack, and I think that's Dark Troopers punching things with a Myrtleizer. But
so you're the only man who needs 7 red dice?
Not anymore.
All right. R.I.P.
Into melee with that, but yeah, it's sad. No, so more people came. People came back, and people continued to drop throughout the day. So not everybody got all the foil cards. I think the last foil card we ended up giving out was Ploy. And that was kind of my idea, because I thought it would be funny if the only card that can be used by everybody got handed out last. So I'm a terrible person like that sometimes, but ultimately it wasn't my say. It was funny, the first command card we gave out was Bosk, because on first glance we didn't think anybody was playing Bosk, but there was one person playing Bosk, so that person was very happy. Because if people aren't aware, I've got the cards here in front of me. The 6 foil cards that you can get for playing in a grand tournament are the Sith Will Rule 3 pip for Count Dooku, the 3 pip Lying in Wait for Bosk, the 1 pip Ploy for Mercenaries, the 2 pip Reckless Diversion for Han Solo, 1 pip Hello There for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a 3 pip Tactical Strike for Iden Versio.
Nice.
So, if you like any of those characters and want a shiny card, play in a grand tournament. If you haven't already. They are very fancy and very shiny.
Now's the time, because there is a battery of GTs.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the month, I'll be playing another. I'll be actually playing in a GT. The one GT I'll play in this year, the Nova Open. So I'm looking forward to that because I will not be playing at PAX Unplugged.
What?
At the end of the year in December in Philly, I have volunteered as tribute to be a judge.
Oh, did I know that?
I don't know. Did you know this?
I don't know.
think I've said it on the cast yet.
You know what? Actually, I think you said, now that I'm thinking about it, I knew you were going to PAX, and maybe it was just I was assuming you were playing. But now I think I remember you saying something about they were looking for judges.
Yeah.
And maybe you said something like I chose to be a judge, and I just didn't internalize that.
I get a free ticket to the event, so save that money. But I've decided to be a judge. We're still looking for some more judges. You need to have at least 4 if you want a 64-person event, or at least are planning to have a 64-person event. To my knowledge, we are currently at 2 judges. So if you want to go to PAX but don't necessarily want to play and still be involved, looking for judges, go to the Legion Discord and find the PAX Unplugged channel to find out more. I just told the people looking for judges, I'm happy to be a judge. I refuse to be the event organizer. So I'm happy to tell people things, but I do not want all that extra pressure to plan anything. I'll show up. That's about what you can expect from me.
Fair.
If I lived closer to Philly, maybe, but no, that's too much extra pressure on top of me, especially that time of year.
Well, I'll be there playing, buddy. I'll be there
Have
playing.
fun.
You can judge me.
I judge you all the time.
I know.
So then, as I said, Saturday was just the tournament again. Fewer players. Players continue to drop throughout the day because, again, it's GenCon. People have other interests. And then Sunday, I did another Learn to Play. Only one that day because it's the shortest day of the con. And that was essentially my GenCon. I will say it would have been nice to be warned about how big of a thing on, I think it was on Saturday, the cosplay parade is at GenCon. For those not aware, there is a parade that goes through the entirety of GenCon, people in their costumes, doing their cosplay, and it basically shuts down full sections of the con while these people are marching through. While it was kind of cool to see, it was also really annoying because some doors just became completely unusable, and people were trying cutting through the Legion section while we've got people playing games. So instead of me having to be a judge, I had to be more of a security guard and go, no, we got an event going on here, go away. You cannot cut through here to try and cut to a door, because we had prime real estate right near a door. And then eventually people started trying to go through some doors that were marked as emergency exit, and then another staff person ended up having to go there to tell people, no, if you're trying to go somewhere, you gotta go to the other side of the room or go around, or there's just no way to get through.
Chaos and anarchy.
Pure chaos. I was just happy by that point we had moved all the players down to one section of the tables that was already a little bit roped off, because we didn't want people bumping into them while they're playing, because we were right near the door. So we were able to just kind of move the 2 ropes a little bit and then completely shut off our area. So, the only way people could get through is if they, went under the rope. We were kind of a VIP section at that point. It was kind of fun.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, that's awesome. I mean, GenCon is a big deal. So that's, a lot to see, a lot to do. That is definitely a convention I have to get to one day. I
recommend it. I mean, I don't really do many other games, but it was fun to see. I did get to walk the hall just a little bit one of the days and see some of the stuff that was going on. Personally, nothing really caught my eye. I'm kind of a one-trick pony when it comes to games, Star Wars, but there was a lot going on. We had a lot of fun on Sunday during the cleanup times. One of the new games that debuted was The Mandalorian Adventures. This was one being published by Asmodee. And just looking at the art on the box, even just some of the pieces. If you look at the box art and the art used in the game, you go, well, we used that art in Legion. We used that art in Legion. Oh, that art's from Imperial Assault. It was just almost nothing but reused art in this game. It was kind of funny.
You don't play any other games than Star Wars games? You're missing some classics, man.
Oh, I play other
King
games,
of Tokyo.
I have King of Tokyo. I love that game. I play Catan. I don't have Catan. I think I left the version of Catan I technically owned at my parents' house.
My girls and I play King of Tokyo like every other week.
Oh, well, yeah, because King of Tokyo is great.
It's a big deal in this household.
But which version of King of Tokyo do you have? Do you have the original one or the second edition because the monsters were too close to licensed monsters?
I don't know, because I also have the dark version, like where the rolling 3 ones matter.
I haven't heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's a limited edition. I don't know. My strategy is always I just sit in the center and I just either go out swinging. So it's like either I kill everybody or die. I love it. It's great. I don't win a lot.
I also have the Halloween expansion for it, and also the Panda expansion.
Pumpkin Jack, and I forget the panda's name, but yep,
it had the orange dice. It was great, but see, we've gone off the rails. King of Tokyo is great for anybody who hasn't played that. It
is a gateway game. That is how you get your non-gamer friends into games.
I agree. It worked on my wife. So it's one of the easiest games you can ever explain. You are a monster. Everybody else is a monster. It's Tokyo. Ta-da. You're fighting to be in Tokyo.
Yep. A little bit of Yahtzee in there. Who doesn't like Yahtzee and rolling dice?
Yeah. I will say I'm expanding my game collection a tad thanks to GenCon. I'm still waiting for it to be mailed to me, but got my hands on a core set for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I'm looking forward to learning that game. And I've also learned something that is actually going to be useful for all of our Legion players, getting back on topic. So we have been introduced to the half-range ruler in Legion with 260, right? Everybody who knows anything about 260 right now knows that we've got a half-range ruler. Good news for anybody who's played some of the other miniatures games. The shortest range ruler for MCP and for Shatterpoint is the same length. So if you have either of those games, if you don't want to have a flimsy piece of paper or to 3D print something, you can use that. Additionally, also the shortest range ruler for Armada also works. It's exactly the same size.
That is correct.
It's great because one of the things I was able to get from GenCon, I got the acrylic measuring tools for Armada. Even though I don't have much Armada, I just thought they were really cool, and they let me take them. So,
and they were free.
Those, yeah. The acrylic tools have the star map art on it from Ahsoka, the show. I'm going to pull this up to the camera here for you, John. What I love the most about the short-range ruler that works as our half-range ruler is it's got a Loth Wolf on it.
Oh, that is cool.
So
I
I will
like
share a picture of this in the Discord for those in our Discord. But yeah, it is the fact that this is also official product, so they can't tell me I can't use it. It's the right size. This is 100% what I'm using for my games going forward.
Yeah, that might be. I'm gonna have to check eBay for that guy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they're even out there on eBay, but it's real nice. I like it. As soon as somebody told, I had already told somebody I really want this just because it looks cool, and then somebody realized, hey, this is actually the perfect length for the half range ruler. And I went, it is. Oh, I am using this.
That one's from Armada.
Yeah. Armada 2024 Worlds is when it first showed up.
If it's out there, I don't know if it's out there or not,
but it's pretty amazing. Find it. So,
and if you don't want to go that route, there are plenty of places you can get a 3D printed 3-inch range tool.
Cut it out of paper. Or, again, if you already have Shatterpoint or MCP, just use the shortest one. It's wider than the one you need for Legion, but it's the same length, and that's all you really care about. So you can save yourself some time. But I wanted to share that PSA with people in case they've got tools from other games. They can reuse those.
Yeah, very cool. I like that one. That one's pretty cool. Pretty cool, buddy. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, Loth Wolf. Woo. So that was GenCon. Good times. Good times. Last thing we're gonna talk about today, since John and I really haven't gotten any games in yet for 260, we just wanted to talk about the advantage cards. We don't necessarily feel confident that whatever we say about the objectives and the secondary objectives and the deployments and just the overall flow of the game would be worthwhile at this point due to lack of experience in it. But we do feel that the advantage cards are pretty straightforward, so we can get a grasp of what they can do in the game and how good, or I mean, I think they're all technically good. I don't think any of them are necessarily bad depending on what you're trying to do, but which ones you might want to include depending on what you're trying to do. Additionally, if you haven't listened to, if we're your only source of Legion news, first off, thank you. And secondly, the Grey Squadron Gaming, who does mostly just YouTube videos of battle reports, did do an interview with Will Schick at GenCon, and he did announce that in development are objective cards that are going to be faction specific. Based on that interview, it sounds like they are a ways away, but that is good to know that we do have more coming. It's not going to just be these 6. They've got plans. They're going to be adding more to the game.
Advantage cards that are faction specific.
Yes,
yep.
I don't know what I said. I'm tired. GenCon was long. So currently we've only got the 6 advantage cards. Strafing Run, which says special rules once per game. At the end of the command phase, you may place a friendly air support token advantage on the battlefield. At the beginning of the end phase, if a friendly air support token is on the battlefield, measure from it to any position at 2 of it, and note the miniatures overlapped by the range rule. Then roll 4 black attack dice. Each unit that contains 1 or more miniatures that were overlapped by the tool or overlap the token gains 1 suppression token for each crit and hit result rolled. Then remove the air support token from the game. Pretty straightforward. You put a token down at the end of a turn, and then at the end of the next turn, roll dice for everything within range 2 of it, and they get a number of suppression based on a die roll.
Yeah. Lots of words, but pretty straightforward. That one doesn't seem amazing to me. Seems situationally good, and it might have some natural pairing with the bring them to heal if you're trying to score that secondary objective and you want to kind of pick up a hidden squad that's like back behind something that you can't shoot, but you want to lay down some suppression on them. Now I'm getting into the secondary objectives. I'll stay in the lane of the advantage, but
you have to bring them into the conversation. I agreed with you for that to a degree. I also think this is one you probably want to have if there are fewer points of interest on the table. You don't want to have one that's got more things where your opponent's going to be spread out. The fewer points of interest, I think the more impact this will have, because suppression definitely plays a bigger part of the game now.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously go through all 6. This is probably not one that would make my final cut of 3, like my top 3, but it's interesting, you know. Definitely
I like it
interesting.
very much thematically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Thematically, I love it, and it really shows that they're going to try and do more for that. Again, I personally, right now, having not tried it, having not seen it, it feels a lot more situational than some of the other ones we're going to go through. But I think it does have a huge upside if it can be used well.
Yep. And I think...
and you're good at rolling dice.
my mindset always goes to competitive, so when you use the word situational, which is like what we're throwing out there, that to me is like, this could be really good, but I want the thing that's going to be consistently good, that I'm going to benefit from every game, or as many games as possible. So that's kind of why it wouldn't make my top 3, if you will, because some of these other ones, it's like, wow, every game that would be a benefit, whereas this would be like, wow, that could be amazing 1 out of 5 games.
Now, I do think that this one pairs great if you are just going full in on suppression. Let's say you're doing Vader Krennic and you add this in, you could literally just balloon suppression upon your opponent between Annihilation Looms and Master of Evil plus this. If you've already got your opponent having their army basically being panicked, so they're just stuck in place, you can just pile on the suppression if you include this card.
Well, and that's this last thing I'll say about secondary objectives, but for bring them to heal, one of the categories is all enemy units that can gain suppression tokens have 1 or more suppression tokens. So if you have like a commander that's sitting behind a building that you're never going to gain a shot on, basically you can't score that secondary, but this would at least allow you to basically be like, okay, well, you're going to get a suppression token via the strafing run, and I'm going to score that secondary objective that way. Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, yeah, like there's some corner case stuff where you can have some natural pairings with some of the objective cards.
Yeah, again, I think it's something for people to play around with. This is all still new. We're speculating at this point, but I think there's definitely some play there. Next one we've got is Ordnance. Special rules: once per game at the end of the command phase, you may place a friendly Ordnance token advantage on the battlefield. At the beginning of the end phase, if a friendly Ordnance token is on the battlefield, roll 3 black attack dice. Each unit at range 1 of that token that has the Armor or Armor X keyword or has the vehicle unit type suffers 2 wounds for each crit result and 1 wound for each hit result rolled. Each other unit at 1 of that token gains 1 suppression token for each other crit and hit result rolled. Then remove that Ordnance token from the game. This one is basically strafing run, but anti-armor that gives wounds plus suppression to other units, just with less of an impact zone.
Yeah. Another neat card that is situationally awesome, like if they have a bunch of armor. And looks like are they insta wounds, or do they still get to roll a save?
It's insta wounds.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so if you're not bringing impact and you still want to have an answer, especially for vehicles that don't move so much, this card seems like a decent one. If nothing else, you're going to probably make your opponent think about moving their vehicle rather than having it sit there to take a shot, so you could take away some of their action economy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that might be more of it, because at the end of the day, like you said, you put this down and... Well, actually, it's at the beginning of the end phase. Oh, that's when it activates. So, yeah, they're going to know where it is and they can move away. So, you're taking away one of their actions. So, yeah, I mean, another neat ability, situational again. It wouldn't make my top 3, but it's a cool card.
Yep. Next one we've got is Garrison. During setup, choose one of your core units without prepared position. The chosen unit gets prepared position this game, and as a reminder, prepared position means you put the unit on the table before deployment, before turn 1, and they end up in the friendly territory, similar to how old deployment used to work. So they're already going to start the game on the table.
And they get a dodge token, correct?
Yes, they get a dodge token as part of having prepared positions.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one outside of one corner case, mainly because it's one unit, it has to be a core unit, and I just feel like the way that you enter the game, it's almost like, to me, it reads, this unit starts out on the board by itself so that your opponent can just annihilate it before it does anything.
Depending on how the table looks, kind of. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Table dependent, of course, and obviously you don't want to just put it out in the open, but that's kind of how it feels. And the corner case part that I was kind of going to was, if you have a bunch of other units that have prepared position and your army is like more of like a prepared position army, like you've got a bunch of units with that keyword, so they're not the only one out on the board, then I could see it, but I don't really see a benefit to just putting one of my core units out there so that it's just like the only one out there.
I do think it also depends on the table layout. If there's a perfect spot to hide this unit so they can not have to worry about retribution and just get that extra move space onto the table, it could be amazing. I personally think there's really only I guess 3 units that this makes sense for, in my opinion. First one is any core unit that has a heavy weapon that is cumbersome. That way you don't have to worry, because if you deploy onto the table, that first move negates you being able to use that. So I'm thinking the RP6, the HH12, that could be a worthwhile unit to give this to, because they could end up being on the table immediately, and you still have that impact first turn. The other 2 units I think that this card could be great for are Snow Troopers with a Flamer and Fleet Troopers. Both of those units want to get close in their core, so this one really helps them get close and be able to do what they want to do a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Also could be pretty good on Black Sun.
I could see a benefit of like
B2s.
More along the lines of like if you had 3 shores, 3 mortars, 3 E-webs, and because the way that detachment works, those 3 shores and 3 mortars is only occupying 3 core slots, because the detachments don't count towards your 6. And then you wanted to add in another, like, Snow Trooper, like you said, and it's like, oh, good, I'm gonna benefit from prepared positions potentially on that core trooper. That's the only core trooper that's not gonna start on the table, like my other 6 between the 3 shores, 3 mortars, and then the 3 E-webs, because they have prepared positions as well. So like everything's out there. They all start on the table. They all have a dodge. I just think it's like a trap, like I was saying, to just give this to one unit when nothing else has it in your army, and it's just like, go, die, kamikaze, like that.
Now, I don't necessarily think it's a trap. I think it does become stronger if you have those other units out there for the threat saturation. So,
In the words of Akbar, it's a trap.
yeah.
Come on, you should have laughed at that joke. You know that's a good one.
I chuckled on the inside. Next one is Advanced Intel. The special rules: at the start of the first activation phase, add 1 pass token to your pass pool. I think that one's pretty great. Even if you wouldn't have a pass pool, you have a pass pool, so it helps delay putting a unit out onto the table, which I think is real good.
Love it. Yep. Straightforward, not a ton of text, and it's great.
Straightforward, easy to understand. You probably know what you're going to use it for. Yeah.
Yep. That one seems like auto include in your top 3. Or in your 3 advantage cards that you're building out your battle deck.
Yep. I agree. I think I'll always be including that one. In the current 6 that we've got, I'm always including that one.
Correct, yeah, in the current 6.
Yep. Next is Cunning Deployment. The special rules: at the start of the first activation phase, choose 3 friendly units. Each chosen unit gains a dodge token. Again, solid card. Especially if you've got 3 units with prepared positions. If they're all starting on the table with 2 dodges, that's pretty good.
Yep. This is probably my favorite one. I think Advanced Intel is potentially the best one, but Cunning Deployment is my favorite one, especially as a clone player, because you can share those dodges around.
That's true. Yeah. Strong card. I mean, dodges are good, especially at the beginning of the game.
Yep. And there's no unit limitation. So, like, I could throw dodge on Anakin. Yeah, I could throw dodges on all 3 of my commandos. I mean, there's...
And it doesn't even say you have to have orders. Just 3 units, period.
Yep. I love it. It's awesome.
And then last one is Fortified Position. Setup. During setup, you may place up to 3 barricades within friendly or contested territory beyond range 1 of each other. Straightforward. Add some barricades. We've seen it before. We know what it does. It's a classic.
Yep. Bring your own cover. I like it.
Especially since it's still heavy cover for trooper units, as long as you meet the range requirement nowadays.
Yeah, I think like Advanced Intel, Cunning Deployment, or Auto include. If it was me, I would do Fortified Position. You could add Strafing, Run, or Ordnance if you really just wanted like a little bit of flavor. Garrison I'd only include if I was doing like, an army where I had a ton of prepared positions. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a big disparity between Advanced Intel and Cunning Deployment, and then it's like everything else.
Well, that's because you like to think of what's best rather than what's fun. And I can't fix that for you. But, all of these are clearly good, depending on what you're trying to do.
They are all clearly advantages for you.
I mean, you're not wrong. So, yeah, no, I like them all. I personally, my favorites just because of theme are Strafing, Run, Ordnance. This seems really fun for the game that they're going this route. So I can't wait to see what else they've got cooking for these advantages, because if they're thinking things like, airspeeders coming by and doing the strafing run, or artillery's firing in, or I don't know if that's supposed to be an artillery strike or if it's supposed to be somebody had already laid a bomb on the field and they're setting it off with the ordnance one. But it shows a great area of growth and design space for the game, because they could go pretty nuts here and bring in a lot of thematic stuff that would be hard to balance as a unit you could take multiples of.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's cool.
Now, I will say the one thing I would love to see
is Garrison, but one specifically for the Imperial Remnant to let your commander have prepared position. Because right now, how it's written, all of the units off the table are in range of the commander, so they're losing out on the independent the independent tokens on turn 1. So you've lost independent for the majority of your units on turn 1.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is unfortunate for the Empire
It's
players.
Very unfortunate. Just for the Remnant players, which barely anybody plays Remnant. But when it takes away 20% of your free tokens, it's not great.
Yeah.
Unless you decide to go a lot with numerous Shore Troopers and E-Webs.
Garrison, I feel like, should have been choose 2 core units without...
I think that's going too strong since you can already get
You
6
get the
core
dodges.
units.
Yeah, I guess you get
Depending
the
on your
dodges.
faction, you could get 6 core units already out there.
Yeah. Well, I guess even 12. Like, if you did 6 shores, 6 mortars,
Yes.
3 E-webs,
is-
and you got 15 with prepared positions.
15 units, yeah, already out there. Which, the fact that that's possible is crazy. How many points is that? Let's see. hold
Probably.
on.
I think it fit.
Oh, no, it definitely fits. I'm just curious what the points equal out to. That's the range troopers. We want E-webs. We want some...
Is it good?
Mortars.
Is the question.
with T21s on the short troopers, because that's probably what you're doing. 6 and 6 mortars and 3 E-webs puts you at 924 points.
Yep.
So
Killing
you still
it.
have enough points to throw in Veers with no upgrades, and you're at 999 points and 16 activations. And the only one starting off the table is Veers.
That's beautiful. 15 dodges to start the game. I love it.
Hey, you could up it to 18 with the
Yeah,
the one
I was
card.
just throw them on the E-web so that they don't get picked off turn 1.
Yeah. That would kind of be ridiculous and amazing at the same time. I like it.
I actually like this.
I would need to get 2 more Shore Trooper boxes and another E-web to pull this off.
Well, if you would like to chat about this kind of stuff with us, we have a Discord. You are welcome to join. You can hop on in there. How do you hop on in there, Brendan? I don't even know.
I've been trying to be better about including the link in the show notes. If it's not there, it's definitely in the description area of wherever you happen to be listening to us. So hopefully it's easy enough. People seem to find it. If not, if you're in some other Legion-related Discord, I'm sure you can find us. And we will be happy to send you a link to our Discord. Additionally, if Discord's not your thing, we also have an email address. It is swlingloriousblasters@gmail.com. So if you want to send us an email, you got questions for us that you want us to answer, or you want us to give a shout out for a tournament that you're running, happy to do it if you email it to us.
Yep. Brendan reads all the emails.
That's true.
I don't even know what goes on in cyberspace.
I'm the only one with access to the emails, so I have
And
all the power.
you do a great job, buddy. Great job.
That's what you think. You don't know what emails I'm getting.
That's true. That's very true. I just know that they get filtered, so I don't have to manage anything. I don't even know how to get... Anytime I want to invite somebody to Discord, I have to go back through and be like, how do you do that again? Can someone send me the link so that I can forward it to someone? How do you do...
For any new listeners, John is technologically inept.
Yes. Accurate.
The fact that we got him to figure out how to plug in a microphone and use video and record a podcast is amazing.
Well, Corey pretty much set up all my technology for me. I just had to hit record. All right, buddy. Should we land this ship?
I mean, it crashed a while ago, but yes. So we are the Inglorious Blasters. I'm Brendan.
I'm John. You gotta say, stay glorious, everybody. Stay glorious, everybody.